This is Loudon Gaming, and welcome back to the series on creating a kind of sand particle simulation in Unity using like a grid and setting pixels. And last episode we had sand falling. Let's just take a look at that again in case you didn't see that first one. If you didn't see that first one, go and watch it. It kind of set up the simulation of adding cells and adding particles and then having um, them do stuff. So here we got the sand falling. It checks to see if there's something underneath it. And then if there is something underneath it, it checks the lower left corner, lower left, and see if there's something there. If there is, then check the lower right. Eventually it will, just stop because it has nowhere else to go. So that's sand. Let's try to make water. So what we're going to do is create another script and we will just call this water. So let's go into water and we will inherit from the cell. So we have a base class called cell, and then we can make different cell types based off that base class. Let's make sure we have our constructor for water. And what we'll do always for any kind of cell that we make, we want to set the color. And we're going to say color is blue. And then we also want to set the cell type. And we want to say the cell type is equal to, cell type water. Okay. All right. Then what we need to do is create a public, actually we want to override the virtual method of activate. So this is where all the logic will happen. So we'll kind of start it off just like vector to int dot down. We're going to check underneath it first, and we're going to say that this equals our current position plus the vector uh, down. All right, now we're going to say if, and we created a method or a function called place, check placement, and we're going to check the placement of down. So if we can do this, we'll just set it. And this is basically checking to see if it's null or not. So if it's not, though, we need to kind of check to see if we can go to the left or go to the right. Now, what I want to do is something a little bit different here. I want to actually check both positions, and we're going to kind of create some randomness to the water so that it will always check to the left and to the right um, and see if it's ever a possibility. So it's going to just keep moving to the left. If it can't go down, it's going to check to the left and to the right and just keep moving back and forth um, until it can't move anymore. So we're going to say vector2 int left is equal to position plus vector2 left. And then we want to say vector2 right is equal to position plus vector int dot right. Okay, so now when we do this, we want to just check the bounds for both of those. So check our simulation dot instance dot check bounds. Um, and we want to say left. Now I could probably make this a little bit more efficient so we don't have to do this twice. Um, but anyways, we could technically, let's do this. All right, let's go to our cell. And so let's go back to this placement and we're going to just set a bool, okay, is placing. All right, and what we'll do is if is placing, then we'll set the position. That way I don't have to retype this because it's all the same kind of code. All right. So this is just going to, if we are placing it and it checks out good, then we'll place it. If we don't really want to place it and we're just checking it, then we won't place it and we'll just get a true or false. So let's go back to the sand. We'll then probably have some errors here. So for each of these, we want to say true, we do want to place it. True, we want to place it. And true, we want to place it. And then in our water, we want to say true, we want to place it. But now here, we don't want to place it. We just want to check. We're going to say false. Check bounds false. Why is that not liking it? Oh, that's saying check bounds. Whoops. We don't want any of that. We just want to say check placement. And we want to say left, comma, false. We don't want to place it. And what we're going to do is create a list of vector2 ints, and we're going to say possible location or location, sure. And make sure we make it as a new list. And so if we can go to the left, let's add it to that list. And we're going to add the left. And then if we can go to the right, so if check placement right, but we don't want to place it, then we're going to add it to the list. Possible locations dot add, and we'll add the right to that list of vectors. So now that we have the vectors, we're going to say if possible locations that count is greater than 0. So we at least have to have 1. And so we want to set position. And the position is going to be from those possible locations. And we want to do random.range. We're going to do from 0 to the possible locations that count. So if there's 2, we're going to pick between 1 and 2 from the list as the position we want to go to, and we want to say true. We are going to replace or remove the old position. All right, wouldn't that be awesome if this works right away? If this works right away, then we are going to, try something else. Now let's go to our paint, and we're going to do an else if the input, and we're going to make this UI maybe a little bit better later, but for now let's just do get mouse button. And so if we do the right mouse, we're going to check mouse. We're going to do the cell type of water. So let's see what happens. All right, we have sand. We have sand. Let's see what happens to add water. All right, nothing is happening. Why not? All right, so this is why I actually don't create anything. And this is kind of a little bit of a problem with our system. The system here. I don't really want to use reflection. If you know what that is, well, and maybe there's another way of doing this, but it's fine. So it would be nice if I could just do this automatic. So it automatically knows which class I'm doing. I think I can do that with I think it's called reflections. I've done it before in other programs where I can basically use a string and then create the type based upon that string, but I really don't want to do all that. All right, let's see if this works. All right, adding the sand. Add some sand. Let's see if water works. All right, water's flowing down. Look at that. Now let's see if it goes past there and see if it'll. Yep, there it goes. So now we have water, liquid here, and these are just going to keep going back and forth. again, I don't know if this is how others have kind of programmed the water particles for these kinds of simulations, but this is just the one that I kind of came up with. Actually, I think I came up with this kind of accidentally when I was trying to figure out the sand. I was like, oh, this is more like water, so let's just do that. Now, one problem that we have is if I drop the sand, it lands on top of it. We would rather have it actually sink or go down there. So let's see if we can add that. All right, so back in our simulation, let's add another function here, or method, or whatever you want to call it. And we're going to call this the public void swap. And we're going to just take a cell. We could say cell 1, cell 2. I guess cell 1, comma, cell 2. And basically this will just swap the one cell for another cell. So how do we do this? We basically need to get the position vector2 int uh, first, I guess first position, and we're going to store the cell 1 dot position. Then we want to say cell 1. Actually, we could, I think, just set position. We're going to say first position. We said that. We're going to say cell 2 dot position, comma, cell 1. Do we need to remove the old one? We don't really, so we can say false. And then we're going to say cell 2 dot position is equal to, is this what I want to do? I think so. Is equal to that first position. All right. I think this will work for swapping. All right, so we're going to go to our sand, and I don't know if this is the best way to do it. I don't know if we should do sand or water. Uh, it makes more sense to do water, maybe. Uh, we could do something like this. All right, let's do public. Let's just try this. Public bool, and we're going to call this the sink. And by default, maybe we say false. So these are things that we would want to kind of hard code and set up. So we're going to say that sync is true. So sand, you can sync. All right, so what we're going to do, we're going to just try this, see if this will work. If we get to a point where the water is no longer kind of moving, we're going to check, or maybe we could do this actually. Yeah, let's just do it here. So the water's no longer moving. We're going to check. So we couldn't place it, right? We're going to say else. We're going to say else. So we weren't able to place it down. So then it goes, no, no, no. This is false. Hold up. So it says false. Wasn't able to do that. So let's just return it here so that checks placement. So it wasn't able to go down. And so if it was able to actually go left or right, that means it's no longer moving if we're all the way down here. So check above for syncing. So we're going to say vector2 int up is equal to vector is equal to the position plus vector2 int up. So we're going to say if we don't want to say check placement. Well, yeah, check placement. If check placement up, and we want to say comma false. So if we can't place above us, so it's inbounds. So whether it's out of bounds, if it's out of bounds, will this work? All right, let's just do this. So we're going to check the placement, and then we'll just say if. Actually, I don't like this at all. Let's get rid of all this. We're going to just check the bounds actually. Simulation dot instance dot check bounds, because we definitely might run into some problems if we use our check placement code. So we're going to check it if it's up. If we are in bounds, if simulation dot instance dot grid is null, and we want to check up. So, and we want to do this as a not. So if this is not null, that means we have something there. Then we want to say, we're going to say simulation. No, we want to say if simulation dot instance dot grid. And I could do this differently. I could have like a method in the simulation that would return the actual cell instead of typing all of this every time. Um, actually, let's just do this. Let's say cell is equal to the simulation dot instance dot grid dot up dot x comma up dot y. You know, while I'm doing this, I'll just add this as another helper. Public cell get cell, and we'll use a vector2 position. We could return null, and we can actually check the bounds here. If check bounds position, and then we're going to say uh, grid return grid position dot x position dot y. So let's just have this little helper and go to back to our water, I guess. Okay, so we can actually get rid of check if a grid is null. We'd actually get rid of all of this, I think. And basically what we should be able to do now, cell is equal to simulation.get cell, and we want to get the cell that's, if there's something there. So now we're going to say if cell is not null. Okay, so there is something there above us. We're going to say if cell dot sync. So can it sync? Then we will do simulation dot instance dot swap, and we want to swap this with that. All right, we're going to see if this works. I don't know. It might not work. but basically we want to just swap the positions. All right, let's see. We got our sand. Let's just test this out first with the regular water. Okay. Now I should probably make sure that my water doesn't sink. Okay, now let's see if we add sand. Look at that. Now, and you can see it's pushing the water up. Okay, this is cool. All right, so we got water, we got sand sinking in the water. All right, does take a little while to fill up, but this is pretty cool. And you can see the water is being pushed up and it's kind of filling in the other places. If I fill all this up, all the water should be going to the other side. So definitely cool. Definitely cool. All right. Now let's add some more then to the simulation. We're going to add some walls. So let's go to create script. We'll call this a wall. All right, so walls, we're going to say cell. Let's delete all this. Create that constructor. And we're going to say color is equal to, uh, let's just do color dot gray maybe. What, not grayscale, but whoops. Color dot gray. And we're going to need to go back to our cell types. Let's add wall. All right, with our wall, we want to say sync is false. Not that it matters because it won't be dropping anyways. And that's really all we need. We don't even need to do the override activate. All right, so we don't really need to do that, but let's go to our simulation and make sure we can add add this. Let's just copy all this, or maybe we just so we're gonna say wall is equal to new position, and we're gonna say cells to add wall. All right, so we got that. Let's see if we need to go to our paint. Now, we already kind of have a problem. We only have so many more buttons we can use, so we really need to kind of cycle through this instead. So what we're going to do is have a int, uh, let's see, count, or int, not count. How about current selection? And if we push the one button, we are going to change the, let's say, count, selection. Current selection is plus plus. If current selection is greater than or equal to, all right, so let's see, is this right? Mm, all right, so this right here is kind of a long way of just saying get how long is our enumeration for this particular the cell type. So we have to use this to get that. So if we have that, okay. So now we're going to say current selection is equal to 0. So now here we're going to check. Now let's see if I can figure this out. All right, I was thinking a little bit too hard about that. You just have to convert the ints to the cell type like that. So that's all you gotta do. So hopefully now we can cycle through it. And we might, so let's just do that and let's just see what happens. All right, so let's drop the sand. Nothing's happening. Now you might be wondering, what's going on? Well, it's right now it's on the none uh, type. So let me click here. Now we got the sand. All right. Now let's click this and get some water. Nope. Oh, whoa, 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 whoa. So what is happening is I cycled through, now it is adding the walls. I kind of cycled it a little bit too fast. So now you can see the sand actually can kind of go through these cracks here. We do have water. The water cannot though, because the water's not checking the diagrams. This is kind of cool right here. I like that. That's cool. Uh, we could test for that kind of scenario, but that's not a big deal. But yeah, there we go. We got walls. We got ways to select. Um, you know, but it's kind of a little bit hard to select. So let's just fix that real quick. So here we can't do that. We can add the sand. If I click, we can add water. So all I did was change that when we actually release the mouse is when we actually do something. And where we actually change the selection. Let's do something like this. And let's select. So the sand will kind of just build up. But now let's add some water. And the water will go down. So yeah, this is all pretty cool. We can make like a little bucket here. Add a little sand. Add some water and we can fill this all the way up and then it starts pouring down. That's so cool. So there we go. We're adding some more to the simulation. It wasn't too bad. So once we get the initial kind of setup, then it's just a matter of changing the rules and think about what kind of particle you're trying to make and see, how that would all, how it would work. And some of it's just, you got to test it out. All right. I know there's probably like tutorials you can find online. The sand is kind of doing some weird things in the water though. So I'm not liking how the sand is working in water. Um, You see how it kind of like stacks up like that versus this is how it's supposed to be. So that's probably something I need to fix. And it might be uh, the way it's swapping with the water. It's kind of cool how the sand can fall down. Um, Now when it gets on top, then it starts to build. And maybe we want the simulation to work like that. I don't know, but it might be that I have to actually put the swapping the put the simulation more on the sand than in the water. So instead of the water controlling whether the sand falls or not, the sand itself would control it. All right. So I hope you're enjoying this. If you're liking this, please think about giving a like and subscribe. And if you want to see other different particles, just leave some comments, and we will probably add some more. I'm thinking about adding lava next, where lava will act like water, but maybe burn things, and eventually maybe like gas. We might add some like uh, pipe intakes or something where we can actually send the water into kind of like an intake valve, and then it would come out somewhere else. So I'm trying to think about doing that. Maybe some gas. That gas would float up and maybe create a cloud. And then if the cloud was too heavy, it would then start pouring rain or something like that. Anyways, thanks a lot for watching, and I will see you next time. So long.